I think really smart leaders know that they're not the smartest one in the room.
Most CEOs are not really turning up the volume when it comes to listening to what people are telling them.
What's one leadership lesson that you would give the audience
As
today?
a leader, do not spend 80% of your time with 20% of your people. 80% of the organization is sitting on a shelf.
You're kind of
Well, you are.
Leadership is not management. True leaders set a vision.
Most leaders do not set a clear expectation throughout the organization. Are we all on the same train, or are a few of us on the caboose?
Vulnerability. Brene Brown talks a lot about vulnerability. And I've done this consistently over the last, I bet you, 20 years.
If we put out messages and we have communications and we're not 100% sure that it makes sense for the rest of the team, what's the point?
Oh my gosh, I learned this lesson a long time ago. Being curious about the people in your organization and asking questions. Welcome back. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Tom.
Strategy Real Time. And today we have an exciting episode for you. We're going to talk about 60 years of leadership in 30 minutes.
Yeah. What's really interesting is that it's strategy real time. So we're talking about real time strategy that people can get their arms around.
Yes.
But this is from our experience.
Exactly.
So this is our personal experiences with over 30 years each of
30 years
executive
each. Get it?
experience.
60 years leadership lessons in 30
Took
minutes.
me a while to figure that out.
So we're going to go back and forth and share each one. Tom's going to share five with you, and I'm going to share five. And we're going to talk about those. So, Tom, if you will, what's one leadership lesson that you would give the audience
As
today?
a leader, do not spend 80% of your time with 20% of your people. Okay. Most times when people think about the work environment, there's the 80-20 rule, which is 20% of the people do 80% of all the work. But yet it's, I think, more systemic and more concerning with actual leaders because they fall into the same habit if you use the same percentages. So the first for me is to make sure that you are really diversifying your conversations and the intelligence and the data and the different feedback from the various individuals in the organization, not just 20%. When you really think about it, you'd be shocked.
Yeah.
Your opinion, when you think about that, I know your head's going up and down. I mean, do you see where I'm coming from? It sneaks up on you, and most people don't even realize that it's one of those hidden opportunities where, think about this. Let me position it a different way, if I may. 80% of the intelligence of the organization is sitting on a shelf. It's not being utilized because you're only getting your information from 20% of your staff.
Yeah, that's great, Tom. That's great. So how did you, looking back on your career, how did you discipline yourself to do that?
Well, I think that it's you get comfortable. So you have space where you communicate with people. People come to you.
Yeah.
Okay. And what happens is that it's not that as a leader that you actually control it. The environment does. So let me explain. People make observations in the organization very quickly. When they start seeing you spend 80% of your time with 20% of the staff, what do? They withdraw.
Yeah.
They say, I'm not in the clique. I'm not close to the CEO. I don't have that privilege. And then all of a sudden the culture adjusts to it. You don't have to do anything as a leader except be aware and make sure that doesn't happen. Who's in your office? How often are they in your office? Who's not in your office? Why aren't they in your office? Ask those probing questions because, again, the whole organization has brain power. The whole organization has feedback. And when we limit 80% of where we're getting our information to accelerate our organization and ourselves, that's scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
It's not so much me guiding it, Michelle.
Right.
It happens and it sneaks up on us. So being aware of it, then it just corrects itself.
Right. I love that. Love that. Yeah.
Thanks. So let's talk about what's first on your list.
Well, I think for me, humility.
Okay.
And I think that a lot of times we need to check our ego at the door. And as you rise in an organization, whether you become a vice president or a senior VP or a COO or the CEO, it's easy to let that get in your head. that you're all that in a bag of chips.
Mhm.
And
Humility with you as an
yes,
individual?
so
Okay.
I say one of my lessons that I've learned is to be humble at
Okay.
every juncture that you're in. And if you can consider yourself a student of learning and growing every day and not thinking that you know
I
everything,
gotcha.
that you need to surround yourself with other people and you need to be constantly learning. And I think sometimes when you get in the upper echelons of an
Mhm.
organization, you feel like you're supposed to be the smartest person in the room.
Mhm.
And I don't think that's the case. I think really smart leaders know that they're not the smartest one in the room.
That's a great
And
point.
they surround themselves with people that are smarter than they are.
Mhm.
And they're not, what's the word? They're not, what's the word I'm trying to find?
Well,
They're not intimidated
okay,
by that individual, right? That
great.
that may be a little smarter. They know that they need smart people around them to
Mhm.
do a really good job. So keeping humble
Mhm.
and having empathy and compassion and appreciation for others. So I have tried my whole career to do that. Certainly, there have been times where maybe I faltered a little bit, and I had somebody who pointed it out and said, "Hey, get with it."
Well, you're lucky somebody
Yeah,
pointed it out.
yeah,
A lot
yeah,
of people
for
won't.
sure.
That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Love it.
So, what about you, Tom? What's the second lesson that you have
Turn
for
up the
us?
volume with listening. I mean,
Yeah.
whether we're out in the field, whether we're in one of the
Mm-hmm.
hotels or plants or retail
Mm-hmm.
stores
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
healthcare facilities, most CEOs are not really turning up the volume when it comes to listening to what people are telling them. They're going in and they're not preparing themselves for
Mm-hmm.
the field. So there has to be some time where you really get yourself revved up to be nothing but listening. So people talk about listening all the time, and I've got to listen more and talk less. And that's true for
Mm-hmm.
all of us. But you've got to prepare yourself, set the stage to actively listen
Mm-hmm.
so that your brain starts retaining what individuals are telling you and you're making mental notes or literal notes so that you can get back to them with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember once I was in charge of a very large sales conference, and there was a breakout group right after we were meeting, and an individual was talking to me. And I wasn't aware of it at the time, but I wasn't listening. And then later,
Mm-hmm.
that individual pulled me aside and said, "You didn't hear one thing I said when I was talking to you." It was probably one of the most profound moments that I've ever had
Mm-hmm.
because there was a group of people and I was focused on getting the sales conference started again.
Mm-hmm.
And here was this person talking to me about something very specific.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did I hurt that individual, but I realized I was hurting myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But more importantly, imagine how we as leaders leave people in the dust
Yeah. Yeah.
when we're not actively listening and preparing ourselves to actively listen to what they
Right.
say. It's dismissive,
Right.
and we
Now,
don't even realize we're doing it.
now, did that person that pointed it out to you, was that somebody that you were pretty confident or comfortable with? Somebody that you
Yes, I mean,
know
I
that
think
felt comfortable enough to come to you and to say it.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it goes back to what you always say, let people know that you want disruptors.
Mm-hmm.
You want people to be able to disrupt what you're saying, challenge what you're saying. And so when we set the premise of that up, no matter what, if it's a formal meeting, an informal meeting, when we're coming to visit, as you and I have talked about in the past and with some of
Mm-hmm.
our clients, let people know that first and foremost. Then you get that kind of critical feedback,
Right.
constructive,
Yeah.
but critical. And it doesn't take, us long as CEOs and senior levels in organizations to say, wow, I missed it.
Yeah.
I missed
Right.
it, right?
Right.
Goes back to being humble,
Well,
like you just
and
said.
yeah, humble. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
That's part of being humble.
Yes, it is.
Recognizing that I
Right.
missed it and it was very important to that
Mm-hmm.
other person.
Mm-hmm.
Once
Right.
we lose that, we lose everything.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going. Number
Yeah.
2 for you.
Yeah. So vulnerability. And I think what you just said
Oh, yeah.
dovetails right into that is being vulnerable, allowing ourselves not to be perfect. And I think most people that have excelled in business
Mhm.
and set themselves goals, they're high achievers. And maybe something happened in their childhood that made them be overachievers and needing to be perfect all the time. I know that certainly I've been that way in my entire career, wanting to be perfect, not wanting to make mistakes. But I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by people that help me to be vulnerable. And Brene Brown talks a lot about vulnerability. And I think it's so key. It's allowing yourself not to be perfect and allowing the folks that you're leading to see that you are a real person. And I think that that's powerful. I recall probably 20 years ago, I had a nurse that worked with me, very close with me. And I forget what I think I was going through my mother's death. And I was pretty emotional, right? I mean, you're emotional, you're losing your mother. And I allowed her to see me cry. And and then I, of course, quickly pulled it together as leaders do. We say, we got to have it all together, right? We got to be all together. She said to me, Michelle, don't apologize. It's just so important that we see you as a real person.
Wow.
Because when we see a real person, that's the person we want to follow, because everybody feels vulnerable, right? And everybody feels the same way that I do. So when somebody in a true leadership position says, hey, I'm human too, and I'll let you see a tear or a two or something like that, then they feel more connected to you and they want to follow you. So I've found that through the years, I do sometimes cry with the folks that I work with, because I feel that it's not a sign of weakness. I think that it's actually a sign of strength.
Yeah. Well, those are the things that as leaders, we have to be reminded to do. And that's why we surround ourselves with people to a large extent that are better than we are, not just at job performance, but bringing out the best of us, bringing out the best of each other. We do spend a lot of time, 50% of our life, with the people we work with. And think about that. It's really split down the middle. So having those
That's
opportunities.
why I've spent a lot of time with you, Baker.
That's right. That's right. Well, you got to be able to be vulnerable.
That's right.
You got to be able to be vulnerable for sure.
That's
That was
right.
great, Michelle. I love that.
Yeah. So what's next for you?
I think that we always go into a meeting, or we always go into a discussion with plan A. So as leaders, we have a pretty clear understanding of what we want to have as an objective and as a goal. And one of the things that I learned is that you should go in with a plan A, but always come out with plan B too. So with every discussion that I enter into, important decision-making process is allow for the organic percolation of discussion, feedback, conversation around what would be the alternative. And here's what I found out. That although 100% of the time you go in with plan A, as I went on in life in leadership roles, I actually came out at least 50% of the time changing from plan A to plan B, because I was open to that process. I was open to that organic process. It surprised me.
The really wonderful thing is that all of these kind of they just piggyback on each other, right? I mean, you said about listening. So you probably went into that room with plan A, and if you were listening effectively with the folks that you were working with, you came out with plan B, which was probably a better plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you'd be shocked how many times when you go in open, understanding you've got plan A, but when you go in open to what could be plan B, it's amazing how you get a better outcome. And in business, it's about outcomes, the process and the outcome itself.
I just love that. I mean, just think about that, Tom. So everything we talked about, humility, vulnerability, listening, all of those things help to prepare you for that very thing, going in with plan A, but coming out with plan B, which is a much better plan for the organization.
Yeah, when you're open
so
to
if you don't have those other things, you're kind of screwed.
Well, you are. Well, I mean, I think it goes back to what you talk about, creating that culture. And I think the culture doesn't need to be complicated. It's the tone you set. So you as a leader set a tone, I as a leader set a tone. We live what we talk about. Some leaders don't. They talk about it, but they never live it. It's much more important to an organization with what you do day to day from an action perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the platform that you set for people to thrive or die.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, it goes back to that whole concept of people sitting on the shelves, literally, their minds, their ideas, their suggestions sitting on the shelves. You know, their whole being can be passive and withdrawn versus active and participating. So we have to be aware of that.
Yes, we do.
And as leaders, we've got a lot of competing priorities, but there's nothing more important than utilizing and being connected with the people in our immediacy at any given time to get the best of each other.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So my next one is to remain curious. And I think this goes back to wanting to learn, being open to learning, and everything that goes on around you, whether that is reading business books, whether it is going to conferences, whether it is meeting with people that you've never met before, networking, getting out, really being curious about what is happening in the world, and not so much in your particular industry that you work in, because I think that sometimes people get pigeonholed into, oh, this is the industry and I only need to know this information, but really branching out and being curious about what's going on in other industries that can help yours, but then also being really curious about the people that you work with. And it kind of goes to your 80-20 rule, being curious about the people in your organization and asking questions. I learned this lesson a long time ago. Oh my gosh. And I think it was probably my first job out of college. And I had this fabulous
We can learn
administrator.
early in our career too, can't we?
And I mean, he was just fabulous. And he would come to visit the community that I was responsible for. And he didn't spend time with me behind, I mean, maybe a half hour, 30 minutes, behind closed doors. But the rest of the time he was out talking with folks. And I was shocked that he knew everybody's name in that organization. Now it was small, but still he took time to get to know them and to be curious about their life and who they were. And again, I think that people are inspired by that. They want to follow somebody who really pays attention to them and takes the time to look at them as a human being. So, being curious, I think, constantly looking at how can I get better, never thinking, oh, I've arrived. I don't know that any of us have arrived, and I think that a lot of really, really successful people, when you ask them the question, "Have you arrived?" They haven't arrived yet because they're still trying to figure it out. Whether or not they're unhappy or they're not, or they're just not fulfilled or content, they're still trying to figure it out. Being curious. If you're a good leader, you're being curious. You're looking and you're learning and you're growing. So,
well, that's a powerful leadership rule, because most leaders get their information third party. They get to a point in their career where they get it third party from individuals. And that's important, but it is much more important to continue to develop your own curiosity, do your own research, get your own data, so that there's a real healthy discussion, so that it comes from a multiplicity and not just one avenue, because it's not always right. It's not always right. When people bring leaders information, it is skewed. It is skewed because they have different objectives, they have different emotions, they have different priorities. We'd like to think it's all factual, right? And in large part it is. But I think there is some variables that enter into that equation when we're gathering information. So if we're not curiosity seeking and we're not doing our own exploration, we're going to end up with a percentage of it that could be detrimental if we just get it through third party. So I really, really like that one.
Yeah.
My next one is don't surround yourself by yes men and women. That's the kiss of death. When you are in discussions with people, again, and they're not being disruptive. And what I mean by disruptive is they're not challenging what you're saying and really probing as to the why behind what you're saying. Silence in this situation is not golden. As a leader, we want to do active listening, but what's the other part of that? We need to be having participation from the people that we're engaging with that are telling us those things that they see that could potentially be detrimental to what we say as leaders. As leaders, we always think that everything we're saying is right on track, right?
Right.
And the reality is that once people start to challenge us and they start to challenge the notions of where we're coming from and the reasons and the philosophies, it gets very interesting. And I welcome that. It's one of the things I welcome the most.
Yeah, you do. I mean, after working with you for so long, I mean, you definitely welcome that.
Well,
and you're very open to
it's,
that.
It's so important.
Yeah.
Because, again, it goes back to what you said, learning. When people are not afraid, what are they talking about? They're talking about what they think is important based on what you've said. Wouldn't we want to know what their takeaway is, good, bad, or indifferent, so that we can see how we can tailor that for the whole organization so it is more clear, it is more concise, it does make sense.
Yeah.
If we put out messages and we have communications and we're not 100% sure that it makes sense for the rest of the team, what's the point?
Right.
So no yes men.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with disruptors that'll challenge what you say and why you're saying it, and you'll get a much better result.
Well, you definitely need to check the ego at the door.
You got to check the ego at the door for sure.
Yeah.
Be vulnerable.
Yeah. So my next one is mentorship. And I think this is partly why we've launched a coaching business, right? I think both of us want to mentor and coach others. But I've found that in my career, having a mentor and also being a mentor has been critical and has helped me to grow and to change and to evolve and to see things in myself that I couldn't see, and helped me to see that there was so much more to me than what I thought there was. So, I mean, I think that mentorship is a wonderful thing. And I think a good leader understands when they need a mentor and a coach, whether that's somebody in the organization that they seek out and ask, will you be my mentor, or a friend or a colleague from another company. But then also, I think the higher in the organization you get, the harder it is to find those people that are going to help you grow and learn. And that's when an executive coach comes into play. And I've had the benefit of having at least 2 executive coaches in my career that were really instrumental in my success and getting through a really rough time. So, and I also think that there's a lot of joy in being a mentor. And you get a lot of personal satisfaction and energy. And good leaders know when what gives them energy and what drains them. So if you can find joy in giving back and mentoring, seek it out, give it. You're only going to help yourself, and you're really going to make a huge difference in somebody else's life. So, I mean, I think that that's great. And I love to add this little tidbit. As I interview people, I've always asked them this 2 questions. And have you had a mentor?
Okay.
And so I'll just do it with you.
Sure,
So, Tom, have you had a mentor?
Absolutely.
Okay. So when you answered yes, you don't have to say the name, but I want you to describe that person who was your mentor.
Mrs. Silver.
Well, so you named her. Okay.
Oh,
All right.
sure. Absolutely.
So what were the attributes that made her your mentor?
Well, when I was in younger years of my education, I was held back a year, and probably should have been held back 2 years for my ADHD. And at the time, didn't know that. And it was interesting because I used to have to be pulled out of the regular class and go to an ancillary class where it was basically, 3 other people in a different annex of the building. And it was a interesting, dilemma with your confidence.
Sure.
And being taken out of the class and everybody wanting to know where little Tommy's going for the day.
Yep.
Right. But it was a reality. It was a reality. And Mrs. Silver, always, was there to raise the level of esteem. And she said to me, don't worry about this, but she said, find something that you're really, really good at. When I was a young child. And she said, think about it. Well, and she said, but you're a beautiful writer.
Mm-hmm.
So she recognized as a child, she loved my penmanship.
Uh-huh.
So she really honed in on
She
my
liked your
penmanship. Can you
penmanship.
believe it? Today I have the worst writing in the world. But back in that time, she identified one thing that she saw as my core that was really, really special from everybody else's. I didn't see it, but she did. And that's the thing about a mentor. They bring
That's
it
what I
out.
mean. They bring out, they
They
help
bring
you
it out.
find
They bring it
the
out.
things that you don't see about
Something as
yourself.
simple as penmanship.
Yes.
And so I use that as my platform to learn more and to be more focused and pay attention more. And it was something as small as that, but she gave me the confidence and she mentored me to see that.
Yeah.
How about you?
That's great. Well, I certainly have had lots of mentors, but the one that stands out to me the most, and he honestly had a lot of these things that we're talking about. He was humble. He was vulnerable. He was a great mentor. He sought me out, identified my talent, and was honest. And he provided, and that'll get me to the next one. But he provided great vision in the organization, and I just latched onto that. So like when I would ask this question as I'm interviewing, I wanted to know, like, have you had a mentor? And people, you just automatically will see whether or not, just like you did, automatically, yes. And they can typically go through all of the different attributes that mentor has. And the majority of people, when they answer that question, they are seeking to be just like their mentor.
Some other attributes for sure.
And that's the way in which they're going to lead, or they're going to try to lead. And it's just really amazing. And I have to say, like, I've interviewed people that didn't have a mentor, and I was sad for them. And they literally looked at me and said, I wish I would have had a mentor, and I didn't. And I hope that maybe if I get this job in this organization that I can have a mentor, right? So that was really important. But then I stepped into the next question with them and say, so have you been a mentor? Sometimes we know and sometimes we don't. And that you can tap into whether or not that person does have leadership ability, whether they can find talent, identify talent, and step out of themselves to actually help somebody grow. So those are just two tidbits of, like, if you're in a leadership position and you're looking to hire somebody that's really going to change the trajectory of your company, ask that question. Have you been a mentor? And have you been a mentor? So that, yeah.
I really, really like that. We could spend a whole.
I know. Yeah.
Honestly,
and we might do a whole session on that one, a whole episode.
We should do a whole dedication to mentorship
yeah.
and its meaning and mentors themselves, because a lot of people really do have a tremendous opportunity to spend some time in that space.
Yeah. So what's your next one, Tom?
I think my next one is just setting the expectation. Okay. Most leaders do not set a clear, concise expectation throughout the organization. They have in their mind where they want to go. Sometimes they turn that over to others to broadcast that expectation without going back, trust but verify. And you need to set that expectation. You need to go around and make sure everybody's clear on that expectation if there's any questions or concerns about that expectation. There's nothing more troublesome than setting an expectation and going through the process and getting 3/4 of the way through it and realizing that you've wasted everybody's money and time. So we can get ahead of that by trusting and verifying that everybody's clear on the expectation. Are we all on the same train? Or are a few of us on the caboose? Or a few of us on the bus? Or a few of us on the plane? We all need to be on the same train, heading in the same direction, so that we can get the results for each other and the company. Set the clear expectation, but go back and make sure everybody understands the clear expectation. There's lots of ways to do that, but people get the essence of what I'm saying. The bigger concern that I have isn't the nuts and bolts of making sure you have the expectation set. It's making sure that you set it. As a leader, we don't set it very clearly. We think people are good at interpreting, and they're not. They're not. Because when you go back and say, well, what was the problem? Well, you didn't set it. When people go back to get their evaluations done, most of the time we're a part of why that person's not being successful in their job. We are a part of it as a leader. And it's because we haven't set clear objectives and expectations and reviewed how the progress is coming along.
Yeah, that
Huge.
makes me think about honestly, when you have somebody who's really struggling in a job, and as I would coach other leaders, they would say, "Oh, this person's not doing well. I don't know. I don't think they're going to make it. I don't think they're going to make it." I mean, I've always moved from the premise of um, as long as I've been clear about the expectation and I've given them the training and the support and the resources and the time and my effort, as long as I do that, then I've done everything that I'm supposed to do as a leader to help them be successful. And if I can't answer those questions with a yes, I have, then it's on me, right? It's on me, and I better go back and figure out how I'm going to support that person, because it's not fair to that person if I don't do that.
No, it is not. And I think that anytime there's someone that's not successful and they are with good intentions and the leader is with good intentions, that's something that we should be concerned about. Way too many leaders are dismissive from point A to point B with other people in the organization. There is nothing more important, in my opinion, when it comes to leadership than taking the time to help others achieve what they need to achieve to be successful in the organization. That is, if that is the essence of what you go into every day, the philosophy that you go into every day, you cannot fail. Because people will genuinely understand who you are as a person, who you are as a leader. Most leaders go in with the job description, the board governance, the quarterly reviews. I think that you and I have spent a large amount of time in our career, and I think it's so important to go in every day as you pull up into the parking lot or as you go out into the field with helping the individuals in the organization get to where they want to get to. That when you do that, then I think that that's paramount to the top of the leadership scale.
So my last leadership lesson is to set vision. I think true leaders set a vision. And it's not, leadership is not management. Management, clearly getting work done through others, right? Leadership is about getting people to follow you. And to your point, if you're on the caboose or you're not on there, I mean, you're not getting anywhere,
There's
right?
a problem.
But you need to very clearly set a vision for the organization, for your department. And once you do that and you can get the buy-in from the folks in the organization, you can do just about anything. And if you do all those other things that we've talked about today, I mean, you have a team of people that will follow you anywhere. And so write the vision, though. Be very clear about writing the vision. Put it on paper. Make sure everybody has it. Everybody knows where we're going, right? And so they can rally around it. And so not only do vision work for your organization or your department, but do vision work for yourself in your own career.
Great.
And I've done this consistently over the last, I bet you 20 years, I guess, where I said, I want something different. And I want this, or I want that, or I want to grow in this area. And actually putting that on paper helps you to get where you're wanting to go. It may seem foolish and you may not share it with anybody, but you may have it. I can go upstairs and I can go through several different files and I can find 2 or 3 different plans that I set out. And I have to say, what we're doing right now was part of the plan.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So doing that, so setting a vision for yourself, your department, your company, and if you do all the other things that we talked about, you're going to have a team that's following you and helping you succeed and reach that vision.
Well,
so what about you, Tom?
Well, if you're a leader out there, I'm going to finish with, if you're a leader out there and you want to continue to, no matter what level of leadership you are, and you want to continue to get strategy real time, this is the podcast to come to watch, to learn some of these, hopefully these insights, and don't forget to subscribe. We need your support.
Yep.
We're just starting out, so we'd love to be able to continue to bring you, rich content that's diversified in real time, and have you check back with us. And we appreciate your support, and I appreciate the fact that you led us in this beautiful discussion around leadership.
Yeah. It's been great. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. And YouTube, of course. Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.